All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Fitzpatrick Formula. That's me on the left, Russ Fitzpatrick, your host for the Fitzpatrick Formula. That's Carrie. She brings a tremendous amount of experience and value to our new relationship. So I want you to get to know her over the next few weeks. We are in week 3 of the Fitzpatrick Formula. Should you be participating since week 1? You know that week 1 was kind of an introduction. Week 2 was to obtain some information about you and your career path so that we could help you get more out of you than you're getting out of yourself. And then part B of week 2 was your responsibility to build your source of business chart. Some of you have multiple sources of business outside of the Fitzpatrick formula, which would also be embedded into your source of business charting. But those 4 in the rectangle there, season lead, texting, and nurturing, this is a big one for us. We know that you can do at least 4 transactions. Kind of working your old leads from 2019 and 20 into 2021 and beyond. We know that absentee owners represent an underutilized listing source that we've proven with hundreds of agents across the country. We also know that geographic farming, building a 600,000, 1,500 home farm area, and then specializing, we use the term the riches are in the niches, and having a niche area of specialization is going to benefit you over the next few years. And your sphere of influence, database mining. We're going to spend some time on sphere of influence database mining today, and hopefully we'll open up some new transactions. Our goal is 4 transactions per year per source, equaling 16 additional transactions that you haven't done before. We hope that you'll respect and honor your mortgage professional who's sponsoring the Fitzpatrick Formula, and hopefully create a reciprocal relationship that's mutually beneficial between you and your mortgage banker at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. We want to have you start to understand a new credo, a new mantra, a new way of life. And that way of life is in residential real estate, every source of business that I manage must have a predetermined benchmark, a predetermined return on investment, a predetermined ROI. So the credo that you're going to adhere to from now on is spend a dime, make a dollar. Whenever I could spend $1,000 and have it absolutely turn into $10,000, I know that that's some great Ted Turner math. That's some great Wayne Huizenga math. That's some great, I'd say it's Warren Buffett mathematics, right? You could spend a dime and make a dollar. Well, in residential real estate, there are proven sources to spend a dime, make a dollar, like a geographic farm area or your absentee owner notes or a sphere of influence. However, because of some new data that we've learned about predictive data analytics, we've got it down to spend 3 cents and make a dollar. Spend 3 cents and make a dollar. So if you spend $300 on your sphere of influence database mining, you're likely going to get 10, you're going to get, so if you spend $300 on your sphere of influence and you get back a $10,000 return, if you spend $1,000 on your farm area and get a $10,000 return, which one's better? Spending $300 and getting a $10,000 return, or spending $1,000 and getting a $10,000 return? Well, I would happen to pretty much guarantee that if you follow the Fitzpatrick formula with your sphere of influence, you'll be able to spend 3 cents for every dollar you make in your sphere of influence. So let's talk about what is your sphere of influence. Some of you think you know. Some of you have a sphere of influence, but you don't really work it. Okay, start on the far left-hand side, about halfway down your screen. You see the kids that you went to high school with. I'm a 53-year-old guy, but probably 50 people would know me by name and face that I went to high school with. So I want those more familiar high school alumni to be in my sphere of influence database, especially if they're local to me. If I went to high school in Iowa and I'm working real estate in Fort Lauderdale, that wouldn't make sense. But if you have some high school alumni, if you have your college alumni or fraternity or sorority sisters, anyone that you have a connection to from college needs to be in your sphere of influence. If you've got a charity, some committee work that you do that's philanthropic in nature, and your friends and your family staying on the left side of the continuum, you need to have all of your family members in your sphere of influence, all of those acquaintances of your friends and your family, to start to extend it out and start to have that pebble in the pond effect with your friends and family. A lot of realtors underutilize their vendor network. Your inspectors, your appraisers, your title companies, your sign vendors, anyone that you use that's an electrical contractor or a roofer or a handyman that you work in. You want those people in your sphere of influence. Staying on the bottom right hand side, if your children play sports or you're involved in any organized sports, you want those people in your sphere of influence. You understand that this is a comprehensive database of all of the people that would recognize you by face and name if you're walking down Main Street in Disney World. That's a great example. Like if you're strolling down Main Street in Disney World and you recognize someone by their face or their name, you want those people in your database. And likewise, if they would recognize you because you coach their son or their daughter in gymnastics, or if you're involved in soccer or football, those coaches, those teachers that are working with your children, they should be in your sphere of influence. A lot of you have previous jobs, previous employers. Those previous employers need to be in your sphere of influence database. Those clergy, the members of your church, the people who are in the men's club or the Rotary Club, all those people have to be in your sphere of influence database. And if you don't have a network, if you don't have a sphere of influence network and you're trying to be a realtor, well, by goodness, go out and make a sphere of influence. Join a book club, join a running club, join a hiking club, go join a Democratic National Convention committee or join a Young Republicans committee. Get yourself integrated into the community that you're trying to serve and add all those people to your sphere of influence database. This is a great way to look at your sphere of influence database, is that your past customers, your current clients and prospects, and anybody that you're targeting, including your friends and family, are in the dead center of your sphere of influence. And then as you go around the board from farm area, extended family, prospects, vendors, trade associations, employee groups. So I'll give you an example. My dad was a police officer. So I made a group of the police officers that my dad knew, and I put them into my sphere of influence database, right? Um, any people that you come in contact with on a regular basis, or dare I say, you should come in contact with, you have to start to see yourself as a politician campaigning for office. You're campaigning for their trust, respect, to build credibility and to influence their decision making to, to reach out to you the next time that they need a residential real estate transaction, right? One of the statistics that bothers me the most about residential real estate is that 79% of all consumers say they would use the same realtor again. Like only about 20% of the people are ever dissatisfied with their realtor to the point where they'd say, I'd never use that realtor again. 80% of the people that you work with would probably say, yeah, I'd work with Mary again. But here's the sad thing. The next transaction that they do is probably 4 to 7 years from now, and they don't end up using you again. And when the researchers at Risk Media and Inman News and National Association of Realtors or Stefan Swanepoel do these deep dive studies, they ask the customers why they didn't use their same realtor from 4 years ago in this transaction. And you know what they say? They say, I never heard from them again. I never heard from them again after we closed the transaction. That, my friends, is the first crime that we're going to convict you of in the Fitzpatrick formula. You need to have a post closing follow up program that is automated, and it needs to handle itself from the first minute that the closing happens to 3 to 5 years after that closing. And it can't require your manual labor, right? So we're going to be exploring some ways to boost your credibility inside of your sphere of influence without spending a lot of money and without doing a lot of work, but they have to be automated. What's personal to me is this post-closing relationship that you're looking at on your screen. I don't know if we're going to be able to zoom you in to see the small print. I'm sure Megan will make the post-closing relationship available to you via internet after this session is over. But the first thing that I have done every closing, unless there's a huge conflict where I know the client's never going to talk to me again, like, that 1 or 2% of consumers that just something went terribly wrong and they're dissatisfied. But if I feel like I have a good rapport with the listing client, even if I'm the buyer's agent, but the listing client kind of acknowledges that I've been very helpful and I brought the buyer, I might give a housewarming gift to the listing client as well, even though they weren't my client. But to go ahead and get them a brass door knocker from Things Remembered that says their name on it, or to hire in like a professional house cleaning service for the day of closing. So, we close at noon, and right after walkthrough, two cleaning ladies show up and clean the place floor to ceiling for my client with a little note from me and a champagne bottle. And it says, we took the liberty of having the entire house cleaned floor to ceiling, insides of cabinets, toilets, showers. Everything's been cleaned and sanitized, COVID, whatever, That's a nice gesture, and everybody always appreciates that. And then the third idea for a housewarming gift is a larger care package. Maybe find a wholesale vendor or like a Big Lots or a place, maybe like a Ross that sells those big baskets. Go ahead and go out and individually buy a bottle of red, a bottle of white, some assorted bottles of water, some welcome, maybe a welcome mat, bottled water, paper towels, toilet paper, any kind of candles. If you took the time to put together their first meal at their home, coffee, cream, sugar, sweet and low, something special for the kids or pets in that care package, I average about $200, $10 bottle of red, $10 bottle of white, welcome mat at Ross or TJ Maxx, couple bottles of water, just something that shows that you're thoughtful, right? The other thing we do on the closing day is we do a customer satisfaction survey. We teach this process, which is very, very useful, on a program that we call our Customer First professional designation. So if you need to dig a little deeper into this, go to AnnieMacWorks.com, go to the Customer First professional designation and dig into it and learn the granular detail of the customer satisfaction survey. But suffice to say, obtaining testimonials or validation in the form of a customer satisfaction survey is useful when you're going on listing appointments. It's useful when you're talking to your other buyers and sellers. And make sure that on the closing day you obtain the records for their forwarding address and put those into your sphere of influence. Within 24 hours of the closing, all of the new information for this client has to go in my sphere of influence. And I'm going to tell you how hard I was on myself for post-closing relationship. I saw it as the potential weakest link in the residential real estate community. Like, I talk to top realtors all over the country and they say, God, I'm terrible with my post-closing follow-up. So I just decided to remedy that by holding myself accountable. And I was not allowed to cash my check for the commission on the house that I sold until this page was completely done. And I want to spend just a moment on the last section. Within 48 hours of closing, I do a hand addressed note as a thank you card. that goes out to the client and shows up at their house. Within about a week of having closed on their property, they're going to receive a homestead reminder from me because in Florida, particularly, homestead exemptions are very, very important. I'm going to predate and write a January 1st tax ramifications reminder with their HUD-1 closing statement in it. So imagine this, if you will. There's a box in your office that says January 1, and all of your tax ramifications reminders from all of your closings for the year, I did about 160 closings a year, were sitting in a box. So that on January 1, all we had to do is go down to the post office and dump them in the big blue mailbox. I did that personally myself for about 17 years. And holiday cards were absolutely vital to me. If I closed on your house in June of 2021, you can rest assured if I closed on your house June 14th, 2021, before June 16th and before I cashed my commission check, I had handwritten you a holiday card and I had put it in a box in my office that was addressed for you to receive a holiday card from me between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they're mailed out around the 29th of November. So there's one box in my office that says November 29th. There's another box in my office that's January 1st. Therefore, every client that I closed on is going to receive a holiday card between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And every family that I serve is going to receive their HUD-1 closing statement on or about January 5th or 7th. And it's simply going to say, hey, I took the liberty of making a copy of your HUD-1 closing statement. Your accountant's going to need it when he's preparing your taxes. Could you keep this handy? It's always my pleasure to serve you. And these little nuanced touches are what the customer's referring to when they say, I never heard from my realtor again. I'm going to want an 18-piece email campaign that goes out to my past customers. I want to have 6 personalized emails that go out from me, separate from my MailChimp or separate from my Boomtown or separate from my automated touches. I'd like to have personalized Outlook emails that come from me that maybe have a nice note. And then last but not least, within 48 hours of closing, I want that client to already have hand addressed birthday cards, hand addressed anniversary cards for their wedding anniversary, and anniversary cards of their real estate closings. So they're just in the thank you card, the homestead reminder, the January 1st tax ramifications reminder, the holiday card, and the birthday anniversaries and anniversary of closing. I'm actually touching that client 7 times during the first year after their closing. And it's all done very automated. Some of you believe that putting a letter in a box, hand addressed with a blue ink, is too mundane. I believe it's the blue ink and the stamp that makes it look like you care. I believe that when the top agents across the country, people who close more than 300 deals a year, when I saw what they do, they used hand addressed a lot. They used blue ink on the outside of an envelope a lot. Okay, it's whenever you see, everybody's doing, oh, we're all going to MailChimp as the only way we touch clients. We're all going to Twilio to text our clients. Nobody's touching their clients personally anymore. I want to recommend that, especially post closing, you take the time to do some hand addressed preordained dates where the things go out regularly. If you want more information about this, go to AnnieMacWorks.com. Click on the Customer First Professional Designation, and it'll drag you through the Customer First post-closing relationship. It is an absolutely proven way that the realtors could be more relevant to their post-closings. And as I said at the bottom, as I said before, I didn't even cash my check before I did my post-closing relationship. I never allowed myself to cash a check unless all the post-closing follow-up was already done. So we just talked about this, a brass door knocker from Things Remembered or another place online that has their name in it, professional house cleaning services, and then there's some more ideas for your care package that you could do. But don't forget about that customer satisfaction survey and how you're going to do it. These are very, very important things that you need to be aware of going into this. And the assignment for this week, if you're going to think more proactively about your sphere of influence, I'm going to have you go over here, put the last name, the first name, the address, city, state, and zip code. Go ahead and have your drop down. I'm going to give you this Excel spreadsheet so that you can sort it. But look, you have the ability to sort by friend, past customer. Is this a seller prospect that's still bouncing around? Is this a buyer prospect that hasn't made a purchase yet? Is this a farm area client that's in your farm area that you've had some interaction with? Are they a member of your kids' parent-teacher association, or did you meet them in the junior league or Kiwanis? Are they a relative of yours or a friend of a friend? Did you make a Facebook connection with this client? Are they on your social media on LinkedIn and or Facebook? Do you have their email address? Do you have their phone number, their cell phone number? I'm going to recommend that if it's a husband and a wife, both of them go into your sphere of influence database. Says they're moving in 2022. This is the notes section. And I believe that the notes section is the most utilized section of an Excel spreadsheet database because it reminds you where you met them. It reminds you where you have a relationship with them from. And if you're smart, you might take this FISBO and you say, huge Eagles fan, right? This one over here says this was a Facebook inquiry. Son is autistic. Another one down here. Pet's name is Daisy. They are crazy about Daisy. That is a nice thing to know before you contact somebody. So when you have your notes section of your sphere of influence, you remember that this family is just a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. This family has a son with autism, and this family has a dog named Daisy that they're crazy about. Well, those things are relevant when you're nurturing a relationship over time. And I would almost say they're most relevant to building a relationship. So imagine you get an inquiry from a family that's in your sphere of influence database. And just before you call them, you say, okay, they're in my farm area. We're friends on Facebook, so they see some of my stuff, and they have a pet named Daisy. So then I might say to them when I call them, I might say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm so glad you called me. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I know you live in Hawks Landing where I farm. How's things going over there in Hawks Landing? Let her talk a little bit about why she's calling me. And then I say, how's Daisy doing? I remember the day that you introduced me to Big Daisy, man. I remember that big old dog. How's she doing? And all of a sudden, you're not just a vendor. You're someone who remembered something about them. You're someone who cares about them. It's an interpersonal relationship, as goes taking the time to call someone on their anniversary of home ownership. Go into your smartphone and plug their home ownership anniversary in. Prompt yourself to at least call them. Can you believe it's been 3 years since we closed on your house? Man, what a fun week that was when we went out shopping. Remember all the rain we had and we were out shopping? I mean, it's just a light interpersonal connection. Maybe if it's a birthday, it's to pick up the phone and say happy birthday. If it's their wedding anniversary and they're an Eagles fan, maybe you get a coffee mug, a $4 coffee mug. You say happy anniversary to my favorite Eagles fan couple. Or get Daisy a little plastic bone and say, enjoy your wedding anniversary and give Daisy a bone for me. I'm just being, you know, I'm just throwing ideas at you, but literally the Fitzpatrick Formula is all about interpersonal relationships with your sphere of influence. Know their phone number, know their email address, get to know these families, and I'm going to give you a benchmark to shoot from. If you've been in the real estate business less than 3 years, your number is 1,000. You have to have 1,000 people in your sphere of influence. Okay. If you've been in the business 3 to 5 years, I want you to be moving towards 2,000 or more people in your database. Okay. And if you've been in the business more than 5 years, I really want to say this out loud. And I know some of you are going to freak out, but you should have between 5 and 10,000 people in your database. I mean, geez, your business is to nurture relationships. Your business is to be on top of mind with people when they're thinking about buying or selling their houses. And if you do me a favor and go to the secretweapon.info, you're going to find this tool. It's pretty impossible to manage 1,000 people in a database without some help. When you get to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people in your database, you're going to want some help. And the only way I've found that I can spend 3 cents on my database mining and get back $300 and get back $10,000. The only way I can spend 3 cents and make $1 is if I use predictive data analytics. So I'm not going to go into this too much. You can go to the secretweapon.info. You can go to offers. You can go to companies like Revaluate. But what you actually do with these companies, okay? I'm just going to click on it. See if I'm not online right now, so I apologize. I didn't want a bunch of uh, alarms coming in while I was talking to you guys. But think about this, guys. If you have 10,000 people in your database and the secret weapon scores them based on their propensity for buying or selling real estate, the secret weapon will tell you whether they're shopping for houses. It'll tell you whether they're shopping for a mortgage. It'll tell you whether they're on home value sites. It'll tell you if they're looking for property in another neighborhood or another community, and it'll score them. So if you receive out of 10,000 uh, people in your database, you might have 160 of them, of the 10,000, that are actually shopping for a home right now because the secret weapon identifies them for you. Then all you need to do is market to those people. Send them your social media ad campaign. Send them your notes and emails. Reach out to them on the phone. Say how you been, what you been up to. You know, we've known each other for a while. Are you shopping for, are you thinking about moving anytime soon? Don't reveal that the secret weapon has given you their data, because that's a little bit, sneaky. But you have the insider information that that database has been scored. So the top 160 people in your 10,000 person database are most likely to move within the next 6 months. The assignment for this week is simple. Send me a copy of your sphere of influence database and have the relationships outlined and have your notes section done. If that's all you would do for me, if you're 3 years or less, you want to have 1,000 people in your database. If you're 3 to 5 years, you want to have 2,000 or more people in your database. If you are 5 to 10 years in the business, you need to be striving towards 5 and 10,000 people in your database, guys. This is the only way that you, as a emerging residential real estate agent, are going to be able to manage your database within the terms of this particular credo. Minimum, spend a dime, make $1. You want to 10 times your investment on any marketing dollar that you spend. So if you spend $1,000, you need a benchmark of a minimum of $10,000 back from that investment. And if you're going to work within your sphere of influence, using the secret weapon, using Revaluate, or using offers to score your databases, I think we can get it down to 3 cents, spending 3 cents to make $1. And if that's a strong endorsement, or I'm imploring you to focus on building that database first before you spend any other marketing dollars. It's the number one return on investment that you can have as a residential realtor. Spend 3 cents and make $1. Thanks for being on. That's week 3 of the Fitzpatrick Formula. You won't go on to week 4 until you send me at least a skeleton of your sphere of influence database. Megan has made the sphere of influence Excel spreadsheet available to all of you. There's no charge. We're happy to provide it for you. Go dig it in there and start building your sphere of influence database. Thanks so much.